Well, hello. This is Caroline from Carosoul Intuitive Wellness here with your weekly energy update. Today is April 28th, 2021. And so I'm going to do this live with you guys. Wisdom of the Oracle deck is the card deck that I use. And I'm just going to, I knock the cards first. That's what you're hearing. The knock, I knock on them to clear the energy every time I use a deck. So it's a good practice to have. I also don't bend the cards when I shuffle, just because it breaks up the continuity of the energy that you've established within the cards. So I shuffle kind of like, I don't know, like, I don't even know how to explain it. I shuffle like this, like keeping them flat, pulling the cards out, and putting them back in the deck, basically. So as I shuffle, I'm asking what the collective needs to hear this week for the energy update. Any cards that pop out, I will take, or anything that reveals itself. So anything that the collective needs to know for this week's energy update for the highest good. The Fates. I'm actually not as familiar with this particular card. But the Fates. Fate, karma, acceptance that there are things you cannot change and knowing what those things are. So the Serenity prayer sums up the meaning of this card. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. There are things in life you'll never have control over, the conditions brought on by the evolution of the collective, by nature, and by your past experiences may be fated, preordained by spirit for a greater purpose you cannot understand in this lifetime. It may not be in your cards to understand why certain events occurred, but you can accept the mystery and work with what those events and your current circumstances have to teach you. This is the wisdom contained in the Serenity Prayer. It's interesting because I'm working in relationships with, I'm around a lot of people right now that are processing old traumas that have resurfaced as in the flow of the full moon in Scorpio that just happened on the 26th, 27th, just a couple days ago. So we're all kind of still recovering from this big reveal of the things that have surfaced during that full moon in Scorpio just a few days ago. And so what that likely brought up are things that have been under the surface that maybe you have been able to keep buried or hide or not acknowledge or turn away from. And now it feels like, I mean, this is what I've been seeing around me, as well as probably most likely for a majority of people, is this thing has come to the surface and you've realized that you have to do something. And so in a personal experience, I had an experience that triggered an old trauma. And while, of course, it's not fun to have something like that, but it was cool in the sense that the last time something like this had happened, it took me a long time to recover. And this time, when this same trigger happened, I could bounce back, far more quickly. And so that was cool for me to see how much healing had been done. Also interesting to realize that that wound is still there. And so what I feel this card, the Fates, is demonstrating is like we need to determine what is in our control to change. We can't go back and change the things that we've experienced, but we do have the power to shift and choose how we want to be moving forward. Like, for example, when I had this trigger happened, And it happened in jiu-jitsu practice. And when my professor and friend called me, he told me that he's proud of me for continuing to train, even though I've had other experiences that would definitely deter me or other people from doing so. And my response is, you either live with the fear, like you live with the fear and never face it, you just like let it own you, or you find ways to overcome it. And so it's that those are the two options in my mind. And so I cannot change anything that I have experienced or anyone else has experienced in their life, but we choose what they mean to us moving forward. And so important to determine what is in our control and what is not. Other people's behavior, not in our control. Other people's views about us or anything else, not in our control. It's not in our control how the collective determines how they want to handle current events. It's not in our control. What is in our control is how we define ourselves, what we choose to allow define us, because not everything does. Maybe you've had a traumatic event, doesn't have to define you unless you accept that it does, unless you choose to allow it to continue to define you. And if we are in a situation where somebody or somebodies are making decisions that we are not in alignment with, we don't have to subject ourselves to that. We can choose to not partake, to not do those things. So like, for example, if you don't like the way society is deciding to handle things in this moment, you can choose to find an alternative way to live. And so instead, that is something that is within your control, and having the courage to change the things that you can. So it's really important right now to determine what is shiftable, what is evolvable, what is in a place that can evolve, and what is not. And so please go back to last week and listen to the Hello Shadow Self, last week's energy update. It's a good thing to contemplate as we're deciding what is changeable and what is not changeable. And what's interesting about this is we will sometimes pull in energies or frequencies or essences to help us deal with situations we don't know how to handle. My mentor was just talking about this recently. And some of these essences, these energies, these beings that we pull in to help us, they also have the ability to evolve. Or you can think of them as the shadow aspects within ourselves. They have the ability to evolve. And so determining what within us has the ability to evolve and allowing or accepting that invitation to growth. So the energy of the week is the Serenity prayer that I'm sure many of us are familiar with. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I am wishing you the wisdom to know the difference, the courage, and the serenity, and everything you need to make this energy of the week magical and flowing for you. If you would like more insight, please join my newsletter at carosoul.com or sign up for your free copy of the Reclaim Your Energy guided journey meditation, which will help you to reclaim your energy from all of the unsuspecting places where it is lost and finally conquer or overcome, transcend that drained feeling. So once again, this is Caroline from Carosoul Intuitive Wellness, and I will be with you again so soon.